اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه شيء من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن يكلأه باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان خيرا فخير سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم والأعمال مطلوب. واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمن به المناكير شاعت والمعايب. فكن وحيدا فريدا خاملا حذرا، فإن فيه الأقاويل الأكاذيب. والظلم فاش بلا لوم ولا نكر، وللمساكين تخويف وترهيب. فكن لبيتك حلسا لا تفارقه، إلا لشيء له في الشرع تصويب. واذكر إلهك ذكرا دائما أبدا، فالذكر بالذكر مقرون ومصحوب. وذاكر الله يجالسه، فاجلس مع الله تأتيك المواهب. واطلب من الله ما تحتاج أجمعه، فالخير يا ذا لديه والمطالب. لا تسأل الله كريم الوجه خالقنا، فعنده الفضل والإحسان مسكوب. واعكف على بابه في كل ما نفس، فإن نسيانه يا صاحبي حوب. وكن أخي بحبل الله معتصما، فكل حبل سواه فهو مقطوب. واسلك على سنة الهادي تفوز، وفي أولاك ترضى وفي أخراك محبوب. ففي اتباع النبي الخير أجمعه، عليه منا صلاة ربي يدوب. تغشاه والآل والأصحاب أجمعهم، ومن لمذهبهم في الخير منسوب. والحمد لله رب العالمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue our lesson in the book of Nur Idah by Al-Imam Hassan Shurun Bulali in the Fiqh of Al-Imam Abu Hanifa. We pray that Allah bless in this lesson and make it a reason where our sins are forgiven and prayers are answered, inshaAllah ta'ala. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So we will enter into where we were in our last lesson. Our last lesson, we are speaking about at-tahari or ijtihad. That when a person is in a state where he knew that one of the utensils has najis, or one of the clothes has najis, then it is compulsory upon him to do ijtihad. And in the Hanafi madhab, they take into consideration the majority. If the majority is pure, then it is permissible to do ijtihad when comes what you call it to clothing. When comes into clothing, but when comes to drinking, this condition is not there. Even if most of the utensils are believed to be najis, ijtihad is still permissible. Now, so now we will enter into the next topic, as what is mentioned by the author here. He said, Faslun fi tathhir al-abar. So this is a chapter on learning about wells and how we ascertain that the water in the wells are pure. And the wells that is meant by the author here is small wells, because he is speaking about small amount of water. And small amount of water in the madhab of Abu Hanifa is ashara bi ashara. That's what we mentioned. 10 arms length by 10 arms length. They do not take into consideration the depth. Only some of the scholars that he mentioned that if you put your hand inside it doesn't touch the base, and if you want to take water from it. So as long as the water is 10 by 10, this is considered to be a lot of water. Anything that is lesser than that is considered to be small amount of water. So the difference between the madhab al-Imam Abu Hanifa and the madhab Imam Shafi is that in the madhab al-Imam Shafi we take into consideration the volume of the water. So we do not really speak concern about the dimension, but at the end of the day it must be more than 219 liters of water, whether it is in a circular form or in a squarish form, rectangleish form. But what is important is the volume is more than 220 liters. But in the madhab Imam Abu Hanifa, they take into consideration dimension. So as long as the water, if it is in a dimension by 10 by 10, regardless of how deep any water can be, it is considered to be a large amount of water. So here the author is speaking about wells that are small, meaning the water that is inside is considered to be small amount of water. So he mentioned al-qadrul matlub naz'uhu. So if there is a filth inside this well which contains small amount of water, how do we purify this well? So he said tunzahul bi'ru saghira, we remove the water in the well if the well is a small one, meaning the water is a small amount of water. So we remove all the water, because all of this water are affected by najasa. So he's giving some examples. Number one, and these are examples. If these things were to occur or to fall into small wells with small quantity of water, we have to remove all of the water. So number one, he said bi wuqu'i najasatin wa in qallat min ghayril arwath. So number one, if a najasa, a filth falls into this well, then we have to remove the water in this well to purify the well. But this is najasa other than arwas. Arwas are the feces of animals that we can eat. For example, the feces of cows, lambs. So these are arwas, and this will be mentioned later, because these are things that are forgiven. Because the thing is about wells that it is very difficult to prevent the feces of such livestock to to prevent the feces from dropping into wells, because usually when we have any wells, these animals will surround those wells for water, and sometimes the feces that falls from their body enters into the well, or blown by the wind and falls into the well. So in the Madhab Imam Abu Hanifa, they regard this as ma'fuat. This is something that is forgiven, unless if it changes the characteristics of the water, which is mentioned later. So here the author mentioned min ragil arwa. So this is an exception. Although arwas is a filth, the feces of livestock or animals that we can eat is considered to be a filth. But here he mentioned that this is forgiven. This is forgiven to a certain extent. And then he gave the example. What are the types of najasa that is not forgiven? Qatrati damin, blood that falls into the well. Khamr, liquor that falls into the well. So this is najis. This is najasa. So even a bit of filth that falls into water, it contaminates the water. We say this water is mutanajis. We do not take into consideration whether it changes the properties of water or it doesn't change, because this is the principle. If a small filth enters into small amount of water, it makes the water najis. Number 2, he mentioned biwuqu'i khinzir, yani if a swine enters into the water, walau kharaja hayyan, even if the swan goes up from the well in a state of life. So you have a living pig, a living swine that falls into the well, and then somebody remove it out of the well. So in this situation, we say the water now is mutanajis. The water now is mutanajis, regardless whether water hits the lips or the mouth or not. This is what he mentioned. Walam yusib famuhul ma. It doesn't touches the water in the well. The mouth and the saliva doesn't touch the water, even though regardless. So as long as this swine has fallen into this well, then we have to cleanse this well, because the water now is mutanajis, because the swine in the Madhab of Abu Hanifa is najis ain. Yani this animal itself is mutanajis, najis, and it's a type of filth. Then he mentioned al-jim, and number 3, bi mauti kalbin. So the carcass of a dog, bi mauti kalbin, yani carcass of the dog fell into this well. Aw shatin, the carcass of a goat. Aw adamiyin, even a human being, the corpse of human being fell into the well. So we regard the water as mutanajis. We regard the water as mutanajis. So here the author mentioned, when it comes into dogs, he mentioned bimauti kalbin. It is different if live dog falls into the well and goes up again. The water is still pure, because this is one of the point of difference between us, between the Madhab Abu Hanifa and Madhab Imam Shafi'i, is that in the Madhab Imam Shafi'i we consider the dog to be najis ain, whereas in the Madhab Abu Hanifa they do not consider to do so. So if a live dog fell into the well, it does not contaminate the water. So this is that's why the author mentioned bi mauti kalbin. He's speaking about the carcass of the dog, not the dog as a live animal that falls into the well. So carcasses are najis. Carcasses are najis, regardless whether animals that we can eat or we cannot eat. The carcass is considered to be najis. So all these carcass that falls into the well will contaminate the water. It makes the water mutanajis. So we have to remove all the water from that well in order to purify the well by putting clean water again. Then the next one he mentioned wa bintifaqi hayawanin walau sagiran. Intifaq is the bloating. Now you have a small animal that fell into the well, but then after that there is intifaq, it bloats. So when it bloats, it mixes with the water. It mixes with the water. So now we know that the water is contaminated by that carcass. So in this situation, walau sagiran, the author mentioned, even if the animal is a small animal, but for the fact that it the animal bloats, then we consider the water to be mutanajis. So all these examples, alif, ba, jim, dal. Basically, the author is saying that the water has to be removed. The water in the well, because this small amount of water, that's what we mentioned. Small amount of water, we have to remove the water so that it can be purified. And again, طيب. But sometimes the issue is that we are unable to remove all of the water. We are unable to remove all of the water. So what is the requirement for us to ascertain that it is enough? So here the author mentioned وَيُنْزَحُ مِئَةَ دَلْوٍ لَوْ لَمْ يُمْكِنْ نَزْحُهَا. So he gave this measurement of 20 pills of water that is removed. If we cannot remove all, we must remove 200 pills. We must remove 200 pills for the examples below. Number one, he mentioned وَإِنْ مَاتَ فِيهَا دَجَاجَةٌ. A hen died. The carcass of a hen, or the carcass of a rooster fell into this well, and it is not possible for us to remove all of the water. So minimum requirement 200 pills. So once we remove 200 pills, the well becomes pure again. So he gave these examples of chicken or hen and cats, hera, wa nahwiha. Looking at the size of this animal. So if you look at the size of a cat, the size of a chicken, they are about in the same size. Likewise, nahwuha can include rabbits. Likewise, other animals that has the same size as these animals. So the requirement is the requirement if for this animals, what is required is as what is mentioned after this. وَإِنْ مَاتَ فِيهَا دَجَاجَةٌ أَوْ هِرَةٌ أَوْ نَحْوُهَا لَازِمَ نَزْهُ 40 دَلْوًا. Nazu 40 pills for these animals. The 200 of one is for the above. If we are unable to remove all of the water, then 200 pills for the above. Above includes what you call it, the carcass of the dog, carcass of the lamb, carcass of corpse of human beings, and the bloating of the small animals, the carcass of small animals that fell into water. So if we cannot remove all of the water, then we remove 200 pills of the water. But when comes to the jaja, the hens, cats and its likes, lazima nazu 40 dalwan, 40 pills. So let me repeat myself, 240. 200 is the above, as what the author mentioned, the alif, ba, jim and dal. Whereas 40 is for the jaja, hira, as what he mentioned in this. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. So the author is saying, if you cannot remove all of the water in the well, then you remove 200 pills. 200 pills, the normal pill. If other than what you call it, this animals such as cats, small animals like this, then we have to remove at least 40 pills. Now, so that the water now, the balance is considered to be pure. Again, wa in mata fiha fa'ra. So now smaller animal, that is the rat. So now he gives an example. A rat is a smaller than cat. So cat 40 pills for animals the size of the rat. Wa nahwuha, rat, hamster, such of the like squirrel, for example. Lazima nazahu 20 dalwan. So 20 pills to be removed in order for us to purify the well. So the carcass of the dog 200 pills, carcass of the cat 40 pills, carcass of a rat 20 pills. So all this depends on the size of that animal. The carcass of the goat 200 pills. Tamam. So we have 200 pills for big animals. Then we have the 40 pills and the 20 pills to be removed. This is in a situation that we cannot remove the water from the well. So this is the measurement depending on the size of the carcass that fell into. طيب. Then he mentioned ma yutahiruhun nazhu. So when we purify the well, there are certain things that follow within. This is based on the qaida At-tabi' tabi'un. At-tabi' tabi'un. We have in qawaid, in a principle and in qawaid fiqh, that when you purify something, other things and it follows. When you purify something, other things follow. So he said, وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ طَهَارَةً لِلْبِئْرِ وَالدَّلْوِ وَرُشَاءِ وَيَدِ الْمُسْتَسْقِي. So now when the author any mentioned, once any the water now, we, what you call it, we mention that this any water, this well any has been any purified. Likewise, the bucket any that is used to remove any the water any from the well, we rule it any to be pure. Likewise, the hand of the person any who removes any the water any from the well, likewise we consider it any to be any pure. Now, so this is what any the author any mentioned. Number one any is we take a look at this again. Number one is the dal, yani this is in the bucket, and then the risha yani is the rope that holds any the bucket. Wayadil mustasqi, yani the person, the hand any of the person any who takes any the water from the well. And then any after that any he mentioned ma la yunajjisuhul bi'r. So there are certain any exceptions that the water yani is not considered to be najis, as what any we mentioned. Any the first thing any that he speaks any about the al-arwas. So here any he mentioned wal ba'r. Al ba'r yani is the what do you call it, the feces any of the livestock. Likewise, arrows and khinsi, these are the different any livestock, the feces of different any livestock. La tunjisul bi'ra, it doesn't any make any the water in the well to be najis, because all these any are things that are what you call it, that are forgiven. Illa ayyastaksirahu nazir, except any if a person and when he looks any at the water, then he sees any there are so many any of these feces, then it is not any forgiven. Aw an la yakhluwa dawlun an ba'ratin. So when he takes any the water any from the well, the water any that is taken must not be have these feces any in them, in order for us any to say that what you call it, the water any is still any pure. Wallahu alam any bis-sawab. We will stop here any because any of time. Inshallah, in our next lesson and we will continue any from here. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin.